Good morning and welcome. Today I want to talk about the law of non-resistance, or as it can be called, spiritual Jiu-Jitsu. And the talk is based on Florence Scovel-Shinn's teachings from the game of life and how to play it. There seems a strange paradox at the heart of the human experience at times. The harder we fight for what we want, the more it seems to slip through our fingers. We push against our circumstances, rail against our challenges, or grip tightly to our plan, and somehow the very act of struggling makes everything more difficult. We exhaust ourselves in the effort and wonder why life feels hard. Florence Scovel-Shinn, writing in the 1920s, understood this paradox deeply. She was a New Thought teacher, an artist, and a woman who watched people tie themselves in knots trying to force their good into being. In her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, she introduced what she called the Law of Nonresistance. And it's one of the most counterintuitive spiritual principles I've ever encountered. Here it is in her own words. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. Think about that for a moment. Nothing can resist someone who isn't resisting. It sounds like a riddle, at least to me, but Shin was pointing to something profound. What you resist persists. What you release, you receive. And I've heard the what you resist persists a million times, but I have not heard the second half of that very often. What you release, you receive. The law of non-resistance isn't about being passive. It's not about letting life roll over you or accepting mistreatment or even giving up on your dreams. It's something much more powerful than that. It's about understanding that resistance itself creates the very thing we're trying to avoid. When we push up against something, we actually energize it. We give it power. We lock ourselves into a struggle that keeps us exactly where we don't want to be. Shin called this spiritual Jiu-Jitsu. And if you know anything about the martial art, you'll understand the metaphor immediately. Because it doesn't meet force with force, it uses the opponent's own energy against them. You don't resist the attack, you redirect it. You move with it, not against it. The person who learns to be non-resistant becomes paradoxically unstoppable. So what does resistance look like in daily life? And it can show up everywhere. It's the worrying we do about money, or as if fretting over a bank balance will somehow make more appear. It's the judgment we hold against someone who hurt us, rehearsing the story over and over until we've carved it into our consciousness. It's the way we try to control outcomes, convinced that if we plan enough, strategize enough, manage every detail, we can force life to go our way. It's the fear we carry about our health or relationships or the future, as if staying anxious will somehow protect us from the things we dread. All of this is resistance, and all of it keeps us stuck. We've all experienced this from both sides. Think about that job you wanted so desperately, the one you were certain you had to have. You prepared obsessively. You rehearsed every answer. You checked your phone every 5 minutes waiting for the call back. And somehow, the more you needed it, the more it slipped away. The desperation was palpable, and it showed up in the interview. Your energy was tight, grasping, almost frantic, and they could feel it, and they hired someone else. Or maybe it was a date, someone you really wanted to impress. You tried too hard. You said yes to everything. You bent over backwards, made yourself available at every turn. And the more you pursued, the more they pulled back. That neediness created resistance. What could have been a natural yes turned into an uncomfortable no. And you've been on the other side of this, haven't you? Someone came to you desperate for something, maybe your approval, your help, your affection, and their desperation felt suffocating. It didn't inspire you to give them what they wanted. It made you want to create distance. Their force created resistance in you, and their grasping actually pushed you away. This is the law of non-resistance showing itself in human dynamics. Force creates resistance, always. When you come at life, at people, at circumstances with clenched energy, a desperate need to control the outcome, you actually create the very resistance that blocks your good. You can't get to where you want to be from that energy. It's not just about the location or the goal, it's about the mindset, the approach, the consciousness that you're operating from. Non-resistance, on the other hand, allows flow. When you're not grasping or forcing, if you're open and trusting, there's space for things to move towards you naturally. People can feel it. The universe can feel it. There's no resistance to push against. So there's nothing blocking the flow of your good. Florence Scovel Shinn tells a story in The Game of Life about a woman who desperately wanted to sell her house. She needed the money. She was anxious about it. Every time a potential buyer came through, she was so eager and hopeful, so clearly desperate for the sale, that they could all feel it, and no one made an offer. The woman came to Shinn for help, and Shinn gave her a prayer treatment. She told the woman to stop worrying about the sale, to release it entirely, to trust that the right buyer would come at the right time. The woman practiced the prayer of relinquishment. She blessed the house. She released her grip on the outcome. And within days, someone made an offer. The moment she stopped resisting, stopped forcing, stopped desperately trying to make it happened, it happened. Her non-resistance allowed the sale to flow through. This is how spiritual law works. You can't muscle your way into your good. You can't force it. You can't grip it so tightly that you strangle it. You simply have to allow it. You have to create space for it and trust that it's already on its way. Here's what happens when we resist. Energetically, what we focus on expands. The universe doesn't distinguish between wanted and unwanted attention. When we obsess over a problem, we're actually feeding it our energy. We're telling the divine, more of this, please. Mentally, resistance strengthens the very patterns we're trying to break. The person who wronged you, the more you resist forgiving them, the more power they have over your thoughts. The financial fear, the more you resist trusting, the tighter your grip becomes and the less flow you'll allow. Spiritually, resistance is a statement of distrust. It says, I don't believe the universe has my back. I don't believe that there's a power for good at work here. I have to do this myself. And spiritually, that's exhausting. You've heard me talk before about white knuckling through life. Resistance is what creates that clench fist existence. It's the life where you're always braced or fighting, always on guard, and it's no way to live. But non-resistance, that's something different entirely. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, or science of mind, I think actually, taught something that cut right to the heart of this. The universe is for me, not against me. That's the consciousness shift non-resistance requires. When you truly believe the universe is for you, when you trust that there is a power for good working on your behalf, resistance doesn't make sense anymore. Why would you fight against a universe that's conspiring in your favor? Before we go deeper into what non-resistance looks like as a spiritual personal practice, I want to pause and acknowledge something important. This principle doesn't just work in our individual lives. It has changed the world. Gandhi understood the law of non-resistance when he led India to independence without firing a shot. He called it Satyagraha, which means holding firmly to truth. He didn't meet British colonial force with violence. He met it with nonviolent resistance, and the British Empire, with all its military might, couldn't withstand it. Gandhi proved that an absolutely non-resistant person anchored in truth and love could topple an empire. Martin Luther King Jr. carried the same principle into the American Civil Rights Movement. He studied Gandhi, he studied Jesus, and he understood that meeting hatred with hatred would only perpetuate the cycle. So he taught non-resistance as a spiritual discipline. When police turned fire hoses on marchers, the marchers didn't fight back. When lunch counter protesters were beaten and spat upon, they didn't resist. This was not weakness. This was spiritual strength of the highest order. This was the law of non-resistance demonstrating its power on the world stage. And it worked. Not because it was easy or painless, but because it was spiritually true. If non-resistance can dismantle systems of oppression, imagine what it can do in your daily life. Imagine what it can do when someone criticizes you, when money gets tight, when your body isn't cooperating, when life throws you a curveball you never saw coming. Now, I want to make a distinction here because non-resistance often gets confused with another spiritual principle, surrender, or maybe it's just me. I confuse them. They're related, absolutely. There's two sides of the same coin, but they're not quite the same thing. And understanding the difference can help us practice both more effectively. Surrender is about releasing your personal will in favor of divine will. It's that moment when you say, okay, God, I've been trying to run the show. I'm willing to let you take the lead. Surrender is about agenda. It's about admitting that your plan might not be the best plan, that your timeline might not be the right timeline, or that your idea of how things should unfold might be limiting what could actually happen. Surrender says, not my will, but thine. Non-resistance is about opposition. It's about refusing to fight against what is. It's about meeting life without bracing against it. Non-resistant says, I won't struggle against this. I won't make this my enemy. I won't give this my resistance energy. Where surrender releases control, non-resistance releases combat. But here's what they share. Both are acts of trust. Both require faith that there is a power for good at work in the universe. Both lead to the same destination, which is freedom. Freedom from the exhausting grip of trying to manage everything. Freedom from fear that if you let go, everything will fall apart. Freedom to actually receive your good instead of blocking it with your fight. Florence Scovel Shinn taught something that sounds almost magical. You can unresist your good into manifestation. What does that even mean? It means that the thing you want is already trying to reach you, but your resistance is keeping it away. Your worry about money is keeping money from flowing. Your judgment of that person is keeping reconciliation at bay. Your fear about your health is interfering with your body's natural wisdom. Your tight grip on how things should happen is blocking the path for how things could happen, which might be so much better than anything you imagined. Unresisting your good means getting out of your own way. It means relaxing the fight. And it means trusting that the universe is conspiring in your favor, not against you. Shinn taught something she called the prayer of relinquishment, and it's different from what many of us learn prayer should be. Most of us were taught to pray with very specific demands. God, I need this job. God, heal this relationship. God, make this happen by Friday. That's the prayer of demand. And there's nothing wrong with being clear about what you want, but the prayer of relinquishment goes deeper. It says, I release the situation entirely. I let go of my timeline, my method, my plan. I trust that infinite intelligence knows better than I do. I stop resisting. I stop controlling. I let go and let God. Charles Fillmore gave us that phrase, let go and let God. It's become so common that we almost don't hear it anymore. But it's the essence of non-resistance. Let go. Stop gripping and forcing and insisting on your way, your timing, your plan, and let God. Trust the divine intelligence. Trust the flow. Trust that your good is already on its way. And here's the thing. Letting go of how doesn't mean letting go of the vision. You can still hold the desire. You can still know what you want. You can still affirm your good. But you release the death grip on how it has to happen, when it has to happen, who has to be involved, what it has to look like. You open your hands and let spirit work. Trust becomes an active practice, not passive waiting. Non-resistance isn't sitting on the couch hoping the universe drops your good in your lap. It's an energetic shift. It's a consciousness shift. It's walking through your day with open hands instead of clenched fists. It's blessing instead of cursing. It's allowing instead of forcing. And it can feel very radical. So what does this look like practically? Let's get specific, because spiritual principles are only useful if we can actually apply them. When someone criticizes you or attacks you, your first instinct is probably to defend yourself, to push back, to resist the accusation. But non-resistance says, I don't have to fight this. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to make this person wrong so I can be right. You can simply let it be. You can choose not to engage in the battle. And often, when you refuse to resist, the whole thing dissolves. The person has nothing to push against. The fight dies for lack of fuel. Shin would say to bless the person, not in a condescending way, but genuinely, silently say, I bless you and release you. Watch what happens when you stop resisting the attack. It loses its power. When money feels tight or uncertain, resistance shows up as worry, as checking the bank account obsessively, as staying up at night running numbers, as gripping tightly to every penny. But non-resistance says, I trust divine supply. I release this fear. I know this infinite abundance is the truth, and I don't need to white-knuckle my way through life. You can still be responsible. You can still pay your bills and make wise choices, but you do it from a place of trust instead of panic. You unresist your financial good. You stop blocking the flow with your fear. When health challenges arise, resistance looks like fighting with your body, being angry at it, seeing it as broken or having betrayed you. Non-resistance says, I work with my body, not against it. I trust the wisdom within. I release the fear in the fight. You can still seek treatment. You can still take care of yourself, but you do it as a partner with your body, not as someone at war with it. When life transitions feel out of control, when everything is changing and you don't know what's coming next, resistance shows up as trying to force certainty, trying to nail things down, trying to make the future happen on your terms. Non-resistance says, I don't know what's coming, and that's okay. I trust the unfolding. I release my need to control the outcome. You'll walk into the unknown with faith instead of fear. And here's something Shin taught that might surprise you. There's power in blessing what you want to release. If there's something in your life you want gone, a situation, a relationship pattern, a limitation, don't curse it. Don't resist it. Bless it. Thank it for what it taught you. Release it with love. When you bless something, you stop giving it your resistance energy. You stop feeding it, and it can finally leave. Charles Fillmore taught that we're always using our thoughts to create our experience. He said thoughts are things. What we think about, we bring about. This is the law of non-resistance at work. This is spiritual jiu-jitsu. This is the power of getting out of your own way and letting divine intelligence do what it does best, which is to bring forth your highest good. So how do we practice all of this? How do we actually become non-resistant when everything in us wants us to fight, fix, and force? We practice, just like Gandhi practiced, just like Dr. King Jr. practiced, just like Shin practiced. We notice when we're in resistance. We feel the clench in our chest, the tightness in our jaw, the spiraling thoughts, and we make a different choice. We breathe, we bless, we let go, we trust again and again and again. So let's go ahead and take a few moments now to practice non-resistance together. Find a comfortable position. Take a couple deep breaths and just let it all go. Breathe out any resistance you may be holding on to. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes and soften your gaze. Let your shoulders drop, your jaw soften. Let your whole body relax. Now, bring to mind something that you've been resisting. Maybe a situation, a person, circumstance, even a feeling. Just let it come into your awareness without judgment. Notice where that resistance lives in your body. Is it tension in your chest? Tightness in your stomach? A clenched feeling somewhere? Just notice it. And now take a deep breath and trust. Breathing in peace. Breathing in the knowing that all is well. As you breathe out, you're releasing the fight. You're releasing the struggle and the need to control. Breathe in trust. Breathe out resistance. Again, breathe in the flow of divine good. Breathe out the grip of fear. One more time. Breathing in, you allow. Breathing out, you release. In just a moment, we'll enter a minute of silence. And when we do, rest in this non-resistant state. Just let yourself simply be held by spirit, trusting that all is well and all is working together for your good. All right. As we slowly come back from the silence, bring your awareness back to your body, back to the room you're in, back to this moment. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes, knowing that you can return to this state of non-resistance anytime. Here's what I know to be true. The life you're trying so hard to force into being is already trying to reach you. Your good is looking for you, but resistance is a wall. Fear is a wall. Control is a wall. When you stop resisting, when you practice this spiritual Jiu-Jitsu, When you let go and trust, you become an opening. You become a yes. You become the non-resistant person that Shin promised nothing on earth could resist. As your good rushes in to meet you, it's not because you fought for it, but because you finally allowed it. And so it is. Thank you.